So when I was a kid and I saw Halloween for the first time, it made me wonder why we didn't have more movies about deranged killers taking bodies on our favorite holidays. I mean, we had Silent Night, Deadly Night, and that was so-so. But there were a whole host of holidays that were completely overlooked. And in 2023, Eli Roth decided to try to remedy that when he gave us the film Thanksgiving. So was this a banquet of bloodshed, or was it just an overstuffed turkey? Let's talk about it. The phrase of the day when it comes to this movie is over the top. So many of you that know about this movie probably know it started off as sort of a generic trailer or a fake trailer that played at the beginning of Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse movies. And it was so popular and there was so much buzz that Eli Roth made a feature film based off of that trailer. And I'll give him a lot of credit too in this one. A lot of the kills that you saw in that trailer from the Grindhouse double feature, he incorporated into this movie. Very ironic way to kick off the film with the opening scene. If you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it, but once you've watched it, go back and see that opening scene and you'll know what I'm talking about. So it's a very clever idea for the catalyst of the carnage of this movie to be centered around Black Friday. There's so much greed in this country that these big box stores have decided to move Black Friday to Thanksgiving instead. Get a jump start on opening those doors up, take people away from the tables, making memories with their families, and put them in insane lines with psychotic shoppers, all for a goddamn air fryer. It's shameful. Whereas we have Walmart, the people in this movie have Right Mart. And the owner of Right Mart has decided to open up the store on Thanksgiving. Now, the shoppers show up. They're banging on the doors, rabid to get in. All hell breaks loose. Several are dead. Several are left injured. A promising baseball prospect has his arm broken. And Gina Gershon even dies. I mean, it's Gina Gershon. Have you guys seen Bound?
I have a tattoo. Would you like to see it?
Once all the smoke is cleared, bones have healed, blood is dried, and graves are dug, we jump forward 1 year to the very next Thanksgiving, and we come upon a guy in a surveillance room of sorts, sort of a hideout. He's got clippings from the year prior, faces, creepy sayings written all over newspaper, and he's dressed in all black. I wonder what he could possibly be up to. This is all taking place in the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts. And for this Thanksgiving, instead of getting prepared for feasts and parades and fun, citizens are out picketing, they're boycotting, they're protesting the big box store that plans on doing exactly what they did a year prior. They're not all crazy. Some people are just going on about their lives. But one thing everybody seems to be doing is handing out these John Carver masks for the upcoming Thanksgiving Day parade. A mask that the killer just so happens to also wear. Before we get into any more of the meat of the movie, I got to talk about the cast, because it was tremendously, for my taste, bland. Maybe not enough seasoning? No. Anyways, it was a group of young kids, some older established actors. We do have Patrick Dempsey here as our sheriff. And I can appreciate Patrick Dempsey because I enjoyed him in Scream 3 and he was stellar in Can't Buy Me Love back in the 80s.
Oh, Return of the Living Dead. Why don't you lay off? Why don't you go back where you belong, Jose? Hey, get your hands off Kenneth. I'll break your arm. Your pitching arm.
So let's get to some positives with this movie. And it's evident from the onset. The killer using Instagram and tagging his would-be victims is a really cool little touch. He shows pictures of a Thanksgiving Day table with a unique spread, and he's got names of all of his victims in place settings on this table. And I'll give the movie a lot of credit because at the very beginning, it makes you think the killer could be any one of at least a dozen people. The mask itself is a very crucial part of a horror movie, and the John Carver mask was okay. I thought it was better towards the end when he accidentally leaves it on an oven and it melts a little bit. And instead of grabbing one of the other 3,000 of these things laying around town, he just puts it back on its face. Had creative and innovative kills. Eli Roth is known for his gore, and we get all of that here. I don't know why he was wearing the pilgrim hat. It seems like he was doing a lot of active things that made wearing that sort of a hat a little impractical. Jess seems to be our final girl in this movie. She's the daughter of the Monterey Jack lookalike that owns Right Mart. She's not bad as a final girl. She's kind of torn in between the guy she was with the Thanksgiving that all the mayhem started, and then the guy that she's with in this Thanksgiving. And of course she suspects both of them at several different points of the movie of being the killer. So I don't want to give away any of the kills. I don't want to give away any of the plot points that might suggest who this killer ends up being. I did pick the killer out from the very beginning of this film, although it flip-flopped a few times over the course of the movie. This is sort of a paint-by-numbers, gory slasher flick. It was hard to find a lot of characters in this movie that were likable, and we've talked about this in the past. If you don't like the characters in the movie, you don't care when they get taken off the screen by the killer. The jocks were paint-by-number jocks. The pretty girls were paint-by-number pretty girls. The dialogue was a little goofy, but I did pop for the line, "This year, there will be no leftovers." For me, this movie's not going to age gracefully. I probably will never watch this movie again. I do like Eli Roth, but sometimes the torture porn aspect of horror movies, they kind of lose me there. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 10. So with that being said, this is Aging Gracefully. I am Matthew Essex. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you on the other side.